So my target is gonna be poor people, people with less money and needs for clothing and that kind of stuff. And the uniqueness will be that for every 1 or 2 items that they get, I'll give them 2 free. And I even have my slogan, if unique is what you seek, stop by Jackie's and take a peek.
Oh, you have a dance?
And I probably would need 6 months cost for renting someplace, probably about maybe $3,000 a month, that's 18. And a lot of friends and people donated some items. That's just off the top now.
Great, that was awesome.
I think I'd probably need about 5,000 months for materials, for sewing and everything like that. And my slogan would probably be big equals sexy. Because being I am a full-figured woman, I know how hard it is sometimes to find clothes to make you still feel real feminine and sexy and everything, because too many of them look like what my mom used to wear. And I don't feel that women like that. They like to feel sexy, no matter what their size.
Help a Sister Out, which is a cleaning business for women fresh out of, how would I say it? So, and maybe you could help me with this? I don't really want to say women fresh out of prison or fresh, I want to say something about transitioning back into the world or transitioning back, trying to get their life together, some sort of that. Because what I want to do is open a cleaning business and hire the Crossroad women to work. So I'm going to need some help with phrasing that where people won't be discriminated against because they were in prison. So that's, and I do have a little motto, it's help a sister out and let a sister help you.
And do you have an idea of who your target customer would be?
Probably in some kind of area where people can afford, maybe North Pomona if I'm in this area, or where people can afford to have people cleaning. Upland, those areas like that.
My daughter just made a cake for somebody that had a bonsai tree on a bed of grass and lake, and then she had some koi fish coming out of the water like that on the cakes and stuff, and we're really good at party planning and stuff, so we were thinking about that as a business
Great.
that we could do together, because my daughter's very crafty. So I don't have a name yet, but we're thinking about it.
Thinking about it.
Because I love to cook, so.
In the Ontario and Pomona district. I worked out there, no lunch. Everybody tried to go to one place. And that's 7-Eleven, and they have their little 30 minutes, they try to get there and back. So I noticed that one lady would come with tamales. It was what they call a roach coach, this little truck that was there. Everything was ridiculously high. Soda $1.50 a can, it cost you like, well, 25, 50 cents at the most. And so some of the guys would get together and buy a case of soda, it's 50 cents. The lady would come with the tamales and sell them for $1. So the truck just sat there, nobody would never go to it. But there's not enough time to actually leave and come back and put all your gear back on and get back in the 30 minutes. So I thought of just going out to that particular area and just do lunch and dinner.
Like a food truck or?
Yeah. I don't know if a food truck, but I'll have to start with a truck. or a cart, something, and get the food there, but to buy the warmers. But I didn't actually want to do it how the lady had it done. She had it ready, but I would like to have some of the food prepared, like potato salad, something that's cool and I can keep in a cooler, and like maybe fry the food right quick for them right there with a portable fryer. And have it all out there for them when they come out and charge them a reasonable price where they all come.
And she wanted to make a truck for women that don't often get the opportunity or feel comfortable with their healthcare provider to get like a pap smear. And so she wanted to do pap smears in a truck. Like she'd get this truck and you'd come in and she was so funky. She has this great red hair. Like she just makes you feel loved as soon as you're around her. And then I don't know how this would work, but she also loves beer and I also love beer. And so she wanted to do paps on tap and have a keg. Like a keg in the car. So as soon as you got your pap, that was like you could get a beer afterwards and be like, all right, I can chill out now, you know. There's a lot of legality with that, but I just love that. Like, it doesn't stick in your head like paps on tap. I just think of this like bedazzled truck or just something super badass that like rolls in your neighborhood. Go get a pap smear. Yeah, so I
That would be
love
even
it.
good for people that can't get out and about,
Right.
that need them.
Have one of them big clamps sitting on top.
So we're gonna pull back and do a little cul-de-sac apart from talking about starting your business or sustaining your business, all right? Because in order to have a successful business, you have to have some savvy personally. And to have some savvy personally, you need to identify how you feel about money. Because unfortunately, if we could just deal with money by the facts, wouldn't that be great? But we don't. We're very emotional about money. And so we have to recognize those roadblocks to healthy financial management. So what I'd like to ask you today is, what is your first money memory?
Getting an allowance.
Tooth Fairy. I was gonna say probably Tooth Fairy, yeah.
Does anybody have a negative one? Because I do.
Well, unless you
A
want
lot
to
of
talk about
people
my
do.
mother's Yankee dimes.
Yes.
Well, at my first, when we were about 5, I had 2 uncles. One would come and every time he came, he would give us a quarter. The other one, we knew he was gonna give us a nickel if they split it. Was Uncle Kenny. You didn't even go to him and say anything, but Uncle Kenny! And he would say, here, go buy some, all of you. But back then you could, I'm almost 60. You could buy a lot back then, but still.
I remember having a dime for allowance, and ice cream cones and candy bars were 5 cents.
Right. Exactly.
And I remember when candy bars went up to 10 cents. I was absolutely devastated. It took up my whole allowance, so I had to go talk my parents into giving me more money. But I also have a memory when I was little and my dad was between jobs and we were cleaning an apartment. I couldn't have been more than 8 years old. We were cleaning an apartment. And I remember my mom going to buy food for lunch, and whatever she bought wasn't enough. I remember not being full from what she had money to buy for lunch. So that's a money memory. Yes?
I remember going to the movies for a quarter, 35 cents. Then you see the little commercial, 45 cents is all you need. At McDonald's, you know if you could go to McDonald's and you could get a soda, a hamburger, and fries for 45 cents.
That's right. How many years ago was that?
Oh my God.
Is
I'm
that it?
61, so.
I was thinking it was almost exactly 38 years ago that you could buy a hamburger, fries, and a Coke for $1, no matter where you went. Yeah. And that was a big deal. I mean, we thought we had money when we could had $1 to go out for that.
Gas, 25 cents a gallon.
So when you're talking about financial management, you're talking about essentially a triangle. Here, gotta use this little thing. You've got a triangle here. And this is what we all do. What we all do is we want to go in here and spend money on whatever we want to spend money on, because we sure as heck don't want to pay for insurance. And we don't want to put money into cash reserves. And we don't want to save up for our college education, our retirement. We want to buy shoes. Or we're poor enough that we can't get this done because we have some very basic needs down here. Pick out what you can tolerate, but tolerate something, and put away cash reserves. That's one of your very first steps to keep this triangle from falling over with life. And of course, when you have cash reserves, that helps you not have debt too. And so what's risk management? Well, risk management is the stuff we all hate. How many of you like to pay for auto insurance? Yeah, exactly. I do all my risk management by automatic payment because I just hate it. I hate the cost of auto insurance. I hate the cost of health insurance. Whatever it is, you need risk management because, again, life happens. And so those are the kind of things that you need to lay in at the beginning. And then the others follow from there. And we'll get to all the rest of that. So if you're going to start a business, you're going to have some discipline in your personal spending habits. So do you have a budget? What does that mean anyway? What is a budget besides a dirty word?
Means keeping track of your money so you don't go over what you have.
Pretty much.
Setting aside a certain amount of money that you're willing to spend and still save up for what you need to do.
A budget is simply an expense list of what you spend. You can't, and then you can adjust your expense list and make changes in your life, but you can't really make a budget out of thin air. The first thing, just like, have you ever had to go, well, I think that you're having them run a financial diary right now where they have to write down everything they spend?
Next week.
Oh, next week, okay. Well, you can't figure out what you want to spend until you know what you are spending. So the first thing to developing a budget is to figure out where is your money going, which means you keep a notebook. Just a little notebook. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. If you want to do a computer program, great. My husband loves Quicken. I can't stand it. It's too complicated for me. You know, and I'm a financial advisor and I hate Quicken. But he loves it. But I would rather use a paper ledger. Of course, that, I'm 60, so what can I say? But whatever, keep track of your money. And I will show you a slide where you can write down categories for it. Once you've kept track of your money for a month or maybe 2, you can tell where your money's going, and you're going to be surprised. You might go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I spent that much at Big Lots, or that much at Starbucks, or that much wherever. And you can make a decision to change that because you've got goals, and you can say, okay, I can find money here. You might have another place where you can just pat yourself on the back, but it's up to you. You're going to live with your choices of how you spend your money. So I'm not going to judge you. I don't care if you have a secret book habit. But if you want to really start a business, you might decide you care. You might decide to use the library more often. Who do you think will be better off in the future? This is just a slide in reference to the story I told. Mary, who saves money for tomorrow, or Sue, who spends tomorrow's money today.
Mary.
Yeah, Mary. But if you have ever gotten in the habit where you spend tomorrow's money today, or you know somebody that's gotten on those horrible paycheck loan cycles, or they're horrible, or uses a credit card, even my American Express. My American Express I use every month for business. I don't actually pay for that until after I get the bill, right? So there was a whole lot of discipline and a whole lot of reserves built before I ever trusted myself with an American Express account. So spend less than you make. Bottom line, I know it sounds simple, but it's hard. Always spend less than you make. Always have some money left in reserves, and get yourself several, 6 months paychecks removed from what you need. 3 months if you're an employee, 6 months if you're self-employed. All right, where should your money be going? Well, here's where a typical family goes: to living expenses, taxes, savings and investments, and insurance. Now, this isn't gonna work right here. It will take you 15% of whatever you make in order to save enough for retirement. If you don't, you're going to be living on Social Security and HUD housing. In fact, the largest group of people living in HUD housing today in America are widows and single women in their 80s. That is our largest growing poverty group. It's not as hard as single moms with kids have it. It's not them. It's little old ladies. And without your own savings, your social security, well, I'll get to that. I digress. So this needs to be higher, but this is what the typical family saves. And then you need that money going into reserves. So you build up your reserves, and then when they're built up, you put money into your retirement account. And even you're looking at your income and you're going, Janice, I don't know what planet you live on, but I cannot put 15% in my retirement account. Well, maybe you can't today, but I bet you can put in 5 and not even notice it. And I bet that next year you can add 3% more and not even notice it. I know this for a fact because I work with people. What to look for, you need liquidity. Wow, if you get interest paying, like go to a credit union instead of a bank. Try to join a credit union, they'll take better care of you and they'll always pay more interest. And you'll know the lady across the counter and she'll go that extra mile for you. I mean, you can actually have a relationship at a credit union. At a bank, you can't.
Your
There's
loan
one right
pay,
next to
your
the
loan
crossroads.
interest will be lower too.
Down on First Street, right next to the crossroads office.
That, whatever, wherever you guys, I can't make recommendations that way. And of course, don't get yourself stuck with anything with withdrawal penalties for your cash reserves. All right, so now we talk about that nasty risk management thing, and you need health insurance, auto insurance, mortgage or renters. But at the very least, you need health and you need auto and health, unless you don't have a car. Now, I have a son who lives in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he does not own a car. Never has owned a car. He showed me the numbers. I am so impressed. He has a bicycle when he doesn't ride in special cold weather clothes. And when he doesn't ride his bicycle, when he needs a car, there's whatever. What are those car places? Not
Car to go.
Uber.
Car to go.
The
Zip
little
car?
ones.
Yeah, car to go.
Yeah, car to go.
They're
all
like
of those-
smart cars. You
those
pay by the
ones
minute.
Where you can get them from people and you just walk and pick them up and
Yeah.
take them back and so forth. And so he just saves a whole lot of money not having an auto, including insurance. Automobiles are expensive, and here they're it's much more difficult to get away with it here because of our transit system. But buses work. Buses work. So, life, disability, life insurance. Do any of you have children?
Yes,
What will happen to them if something happens to you?
I have life insurance.
Okay, and that's why to have life insurance.
It's enough to cover the bills, or maybe it's a few bucks more.
What I ask my clients is, when they're young and single, if you were to die, who is going to pick up the pieces? Well, my mom, or my girlfriend, or, my brother. And then I say, and how are they going to pay for it? So basically, once you have these other things taken care of, or if you have children, life insurance of some kind life insurance is a good thing to do. Do not let anyone sell you a whole life policy or a VUL until you are making 6 figures. Okay?
Otherwise, you buy the cheapest term you can find. But you need to be sure you pick an insurance company that has at least a B rating.
I don't know what the rating is.
It's on their websites. You know, if you're not seeing a financial person, if you're doing it yourself, then they're on the website. A- is better. They actually, you know, can go out of business. So you want one that's gonna be around a while. And, you wanna buy term because it's cheapest. If you can only afford 10 years term, then that's all. Just get what you can. Okay. Because, there are people out there in my business who prey on people and sell them products they shouldn't have because they get bigger commissions. And what you shouldn't have until you're making 6 figures is a VUL or a whole life.
What's a BUL?
It's just an insurance product that you put extra cash into, and it's an expensive product. And so at a certain income level, it works. But until then, people just get, it just makes me angry that agents sell it when it just is an expense you don't need. You could be spending elsewhere. The what if questions, we already went through that. Here's the 3 worst enemies to your money. Debt. How much is the average credit card?
Debt or?
If you get a credit card and you use it,
Or
what
interest
interest are
payment.
they gonna charge you to use their
24.
money?
It depends
24 or
on
more.
your age and how great of a customer they
Well,
think they
let's
can be.
say you get a, I don't know, they give out Target credit cards, yeah.
So like student credit cards are like
They love
30% or something like that.
How much?
They're 29 to 30% for
Then
a
you shouldn't
student
have that
card.
credit card.
No.
So,
It's
exactly,
outrageous.
exactly. So the worst, this is a huge enemy to your money, a 30% credit card, a 21% credit card, a 15 or a 13% credit card. Again, if you go to the credit union, but a credit card is an enemy to your money, you wanna pay it off.
But Jan,
Now, yeah,
so isn't there a difference between like let's say it's a 20% credit card, like if you're paying it off in full every month?
oh, that's fine, if you're able to pay it off in full every month.
Yeah.
But then it's not debt, it's money management, it's cash flow management.
Until life happens and you use it for something.
And
Exactly.
then you can't afford to pay it
Until
off.
life happens, and you know, sometimes you don't have a choice. You know, there have been times when I had 3 children and not enough income, and they went through this stage where I swear they outgrew their shoes every 3 months. And if you've had children, you remember those stages.
Let's give them boys.
Especially if they're boys, right? And then you can go to Costco and they can eat it all before you get to the house.
Right, on the way home.
On the way home, yeah, yeah. So, you know, I've had years where it's taken me a couple of years to pay off debt. Because I was in a shoe buy or whatever it is. But it's small, it's only for absolutely essentials, and you go through the misery of paying that off before you buy something you want. You know, dealing with a need or a medical bill or something is different than dealing with a want. How many of us know the difference between want and need? How many of us like that? No. We ought to move those wants over in the need, shove that over there. But you gotta be real with yourself. You gotta forgive yourself for what you know when you're doing your best, but you gotta be real too. And you can't use that credit card like it's free money. It's not free money. It is costing you an arm and a leg. Okay. Inflation?
Now, that's
So-
killing me right now.
Yeah, inflation. So I've been married 41 years.
Ooh-wee.
Hamburger was 49 cents a pound when I got married.
No, it's funny.
I got $15.
You know, what I pay for insurance now is what I used to pay for rent. I mean, inflation is huge. And the government numbers have no connection with reality, do they?
No.
They don't take into consideration groceries or healthcare, just to name 2. And how many of you noticed immediately when gas prices went down? We got this little yogurt place by our house. I live here in Claremont by the village. We got this little yogurt place. And I noticed in 2008, you know, it seemed like, how do these people stay open? But now, in this last year, there's all kinds of people from the hood in the yogurt place. You know, there's more money to have yogurt because gas has gone down.
Well, it's going back up now, so they're gonna lose business.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll go as high as it was.
15 cents a day, look like.
Some of them are
But
already
inflation's an
3.5.
issue. Inflation's an issue. I realized the other day that I'm paying now for hamburger and eggs what steak used to come.
Mm-hmm.
And then taxes. Tax, as you have a business and you make more money, you're gonna pay more in taxes. And we're gonna talk about that later. So write these down. The only one that you can control is this one. You have some control over this one, and you have no control over this one. So obviously, this is the one to really work on. All right. Now we're gonna learn a little math. This is your basic, how long does it take your money to double? You divide whatever percent you're getting on your money by 72, and it gives you how long it takes to double. So in 10 years, it's what, about 8%. So when your savings account, if you go to a credit union and you can actually get a CD for 1%, how long will it take that CD to double? 72 years. So is it a good idea to have anything besides your reserves in the bank?
No.
No. This is where learning about investments come in. How many of you would just as soon not learn about investments? Yeah, they're kind of a hassle. There's so much to know, you know, it's just like, but the reality is that if you put all your money in the bank, or you put it in your jewelry box, or you put it under your mattress, you actually are losing money because you have inflation. And your money isn't keeping up with it. And that's what drives sane, normal Americans into the stock market, is this reality. Now, let's talk about the power of this, though. Let's say you're putting money into a retirement. Oh, that's on my next slide, never mind. Let's talk about the magic of compounding interest. You brought that up earlier. What was your name you're leaning against the post?
Nia?
Nia, you brought up compounding interest. Did you have anything you want to say about, you want to explain compounding interest?
Sure. Typically we think of interest as only being applied to the actual amount that you invest. So if you put like $10 in, we typically think of interest as only being taken on that $10. But compound interest takes interest on itself. So if you put $10 in and then you get an interest payment, so now it's like $12, the next interest payment will be on $12 instead of $10. So your money grows at a faster rate.
And it's called the magic of compounding interest because look at that. So you're putting in $100 a month and it's compounding monthly, and you're going to make 8% annual rate of return. So at first, doesn't look like much, but all of a sudden that compounding gains traction. The magic of compounding interest and starting today. Some of you are probably sitting here thinking, but I'm so old. I mean, yeah. Yes, but once you retire, you're still gonna live another 30 years. If you get to retire, yeah. You're gonna still live another 30 years from 60 is 90. Do you know that women my age they're planning on us living into our 90s? And anybody younger than us, they're saying that a good portion of you are gonna live to be 100. That's a horrible thought. When it comes to planning, I know. But what I'm saying is is that your money still has time to grow after you retire, because you can only take out 4% when you retire of whatever you have. So most of it's gonna be left there to grow in order for it to last your whole retirement life. Any questions before I go on to the next slide? Because I just wanna go over some of the basics. So here's tax deferred compounding. So this may be a little out of whack. In fact, I'm not going to go into the numbers here because the tax bracket, you may not be in that tax bracket. You may only be in a 15% tax bracket. But the bottom line is that when you don't have a lot of money, the fact that you have it on this graph, the fact that you have it in an investment versus in an IRA or 401k, that difference isn't that great, but the more your money grows, the bigger that gets because you have it tax deferred. Which brings me to the point that everything you put into an IRA or 401k or a simple whatever IRA plan you have for your business or yourself is tax deferred. You don't pay taxes on it until you retire. If you're young and in college, you should have a Roth. But, and that's a whole nother thing. All right, so here's how money works. So Prudent Polly puts in $4,000, this is back to the 20-year-olds, puts in $4,000 for 10 years beginning at age 25. Look at how much she has at age 70. Using, your basic 8% return. So she saves $4,000 a year for 10 years from age 25 to 35. Okay? Now, procrastinating Pete didn't feel like he had the money to save, so he didn't start saving until he was 35, and he saved money for 35 years. And look at how much he has at age 70. See the difference?
Mhm.
This is the power of compounding right here. This is why I see everybody under age 30 for free, because I'm just so excited to get them not to have to be like me, who did not do this, and now I'm saving way more than I want to save every year, way more than I want to save, because I have to. I don't have the time for it to compound.
Janice, where do we come to see you? Please welcome Diana.
I can't believe that I didn't add my granddaughter
Oh,
to the bio.
we will.
I have to update that because she's now the focus. My 4-year-old granddaughter is the focus. I just want to start by translating that paragraph of my bio, because I'm an organizational consultant and I work with a lot of different organizations, and usually my point of entry is helping people plan, helping people decide what they want to do in the future. So depending on the organization, I will go in, whether they've done strategic planning before, or it's the first time, or they've had a failed effort. And I work in a lot of different kinds of organizations. I worked with Nancy on the strategic planning for Scripps, and I have a couple of food companies that I'm working with right now, so that might be a connection that you might be interested in. I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and a big part of my connection to networking is that I decided that I wanted to be in charge of my financial future. So I started my own business. And I rely on networking because I don't do advertising or marketing in the formal sense. But everything my livelihood is dependent on my network. So people finding out about me, people being happy with the services that I provide, and telling others so that other people will be interested in coming. And I think every job boils down to networking, and that's why I think that it's important. So when Katie, Nancy, and I were trying to talk about what I could bring to this class, I thought that this would be the one thing that I felt was just critical to everything that I do. So starting off with network, the dictionary definition is an interconnected system of cooperating people. And you're gonna see tonight that I'm gonna talk about different ways for you to relate to people. It's not just talking about business and getting people to buy your services and products. I think that it's a highly personal process and that there are rewards professionally and rewards personally and socially. The thing that I don't consider networking is sales. So there are times when I have been to networking events and people are really pushing very hard to sell a product or a service. And I really object to that when people are doing that and really asking for that kind of commitment. I say that you're getting to know people so that you know when you can call on them. We're going to talk about the various ways that you can give and receive for it. But I see it really differently and much broader than the sales process. And it really is about creating a relationship. So some of the things that we're going to be talking about related to networking, I think are just basic good things to know in terms of a relationship. So our first topic is the objectives. So this speaks to the various dimensions of, you do some even though I said that networking isn't working in the room, there is a component of buying, so obtaining something that you need, or selling, helping people understand what you have to offer, of brokering, where you're not actually receiving anything, but you're doing a matchmaking activity, and then personal growth. So there are really 4 different things that you can do at any given time, and sometimes you can do that in combination. So let's talk about that first, buying and selling. You can buy and sell products and services. So how many of you have products and services that you are selling or you have sold? Anybody in here? So Katie, what?
Well, I think it applies to all of us. We're all selling exams.
Right. So you all are. And then there's advice. So if do you need a handout?
Yeah, I do.
Where, I think there are probably some extra handouts. I saw some.
Sorry.
That's okay. So I'm in the business of selling advice. A lot of times people, when I do coaching, it's really, I don't have anything, there's nothing material that I exchange, so sometimes that's going in for advice. And then I put human resources, because a lot of times my networking people come to me because they either have a position that they'd like me to share with, they have a job that they need to fill, or they're looking for a job. So human resources and helping people in their careers, that's a big part of my networking process. And then the brokering, it's helping put people together. As I said, it was the matchmaking. And I do a lot of this. I feel that I get a lot. It's almost a way of building capital by identifying, if you hear somebody talking about something that they need and that you know a provider, putting that together. So a lot of the time, I would say that my filling my own needs is probably 25% or less of the energy that I devote to networking, and I really consider it, people know me for the networking piece. I mean, if I look at today I had an event where I was speaking with alumni, and I had a big showing of women from my class at Scripps, and they were talking about the fact that a lot of my role among my classmates is just getting people together. So it isn't something that I get any gain from other than I enjoy their company. So I really enjoy that, saying you have a need, I know somebody who can fill your need, recommending people. And that's a real big part of what I do with my networking. The other thing about networking is that I love the opportunity to meet new people and knowledge and skills, and it's not necessarily a hierarchical situation. So they're not always the obvious teachers. One of the great things that I'm experiencing this week, and it's happened already, is meeting with students at Scripps in some of the workshops. When I get their opinions, they're actually helping me with some product development. So I'm coming in maybe as a teacher or an advisor, and then just in my conversations I'm growing a lot. So I think that circulation of exchanging knowledge and skills meeting people who I have a lot in common with and creating friendships. And then just developing that support system, knowing who I can call on when I'm in need is something that's very, very rewarding for me. So any questions about those 4 objectives of networking? They should make intuitive sense to you, but I want you to think specifically by having those explicitly said, you can think about what some of your strategies are. You know, whether am I needing to buy or to sell or to broker or grow? Do I have those opportunities and needs? So if we move into the next area of what we're going to talk about tonight, and I'm going to get you to participate in this process. I think there are 5 skills that are really important to the networking process. It's asking questions, getting information, and then the reciprocal to that is listening. And that's, both of those, both asking and listening are a skill. And telling, I think you actually have had a lot of process. Was your last session talking about what your pitch, your elevator speech was? So you've spent some time talking about your messages, right? So that's what I call telling. It's telling about ourselves, telling about what we have to offer, perfecting that. And when I look at your agenda, I see that you spent a lot of time in doing that. And then the last 2 things are giving and taking. And you might not think of that as a skill, but I look especially at taking as something that I have a hard time doing because I'm a giver by nature. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how important it is to do both the giving and taking. And I want to invite you, by the way, to stop me at any point if there's something that you don't understand or you disagree with or you want an example. Please just give me a nod and let me expand upon this. Because I would like you to have a real clear idea of what you want to do with this starting tomorrow when you walk away. So in talking, I'd like it to be more than just conceptual information, but how do I make this real? So if you can't answer yourself, Diana's telling me a bunch of stuff, but I'm not sure how to make it real tomorrow, then please stop me and let me help you or let me facilitate your having a conversation among yourselves and you can figure that out. So asking, now have you talked at all about asking or open-ended questions? Does that phrase mean, is that anything that you talked about in the group today? So a key part, I think, of getting into relationship with other people is really engaging with them. And you can ask, there are 2 kinds of questions that you can ask, closed-ended questions and open-ended questions. And closed-ended questions are the kinds of questions that are answered in a short answer. So what is your name? Are you a member of this class? Are you a student at Scripps? So things that you can say yes or no or a set answer, those are considered closed-ended questions. Open-ended questions are questions that invite a longer response. And so one of the keys to being a good networker is understanding how to engage people. And and utilizing your knowledge about a person's situation is often helpful. For me, when I meet somebody and I'll say, tell me, you know, what is your profession? And somebody says to me, I'm a lawyer. Well, a lot of people might say, oh, you know, that's fine, that's kind of intimidating, I'm gonna leave it at that. But because I've worked with law firms, I can ask the next question, tell me what kind of law you practice, or tell me about the kinds of clients that you're working with. So I'm drawing upon some knowledge to ask them another question. If you don't feel like you have the knowledge, always asking people, can you tell me more? And literally using those words, can you tell me more about that? In networking, it's really important to remember 2 things. Number 1, people love to talk about themselves. So if you're ever meeting somebody and they say something and you're thinking, I don't understand that, I don't know what to do with that information, bounce it back to them, because 99 9/10 of people are going to really love the opportunity to talk. And I think that what sometimes cuts off networking conversations is feeling intimidated, feeling like this person either doesn't like me, or I don't feel like I'm smart enough to have this conversation, or I don't even know the next question to ask. And most people are pretty delighted to tell you a little bit more about what they're doing. So my suggestion is when you go into a networking event, that you really think about engaging in conversation. One of the things that I look for in my experience, in my relationships with people, is trying to get to what I call the fifth level of conversation. So there's, you know, I'll say something and then a person might respond to what I say, and then I build on that directly and they go back. I find that getting to that fifth level of dialogue that's focused on the same subject and that people don't get distracted by something else, that is really difficult to achieve. If you think about just going out to lunch with somebody and the kinds of conversation, people are typically involved in serial monologue. And the art of dialogue has been lost, the art of conversation. And I think it must have been, you know, when they used to have salons and there was kind of a, people put value on learning how to have conversation. And we don't get taught that. And so a key to networking is understanding, how do I have conversation? How do I stay focused? I ask questions so that I can bring information out of other from other people. And why this is important in networking is because you're going to think about, how can I file this person away in terms of how I can introduce that person to somebody else, or when I'm having, when I have a need. If you walk away from a person and you don't really understand how could this person fit in my network, then you're leaving a great opportunity on the table. So you should pay attention to when you meet somebody, make sure that you always ask a question, and that you try to teach yourself, how do I engage this person? How do I get this person to go a couple of rounds with me? Because if I say something, they say something back to me, and then we walk away, you haven't fully taken advantage of the opportunity of that. So, you know, meeting people and really getting to know them. And as I said, you will become memorable when they know that you're interested in them. When I was first starting out as a consultant, and I was kind of worried, did I know enough to go in to talk to my clients with authority, since I was the one that they were paying, and I was one that they called a consultant. And I had a very wise boss at that time, because he said, Diana, you know, if you go in and you get them to talk about themselves and feel good about themselves, then they will feel good about you. So I want you to remember that in the networking, because it's really easy to feel intimidated or feel like we are not enough. And yet, if we have that confidence in bringing other people out, that reflects on us and it really helps us in the process. How does that concept, I see some heads nodding yes, does that mean that it makes some sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you'd be willing to try? Along the partner piece of that is listening. And it's listening and really understanding. Because as I said, that we approach, have you ever heard the phrase, every conversation is with ourselves? It's just that sometimes somebody else is sitting in the room.
I heard that one. That makes sense.
So it is going to be really unusual if you can walk into the room and get somebody to participate in a conversation. And we do that after we ask the questions. The next thing that we need to do is learn how to really listen. I mean, if we're interested enough to ask that question, then let's listen to that and process it and think about what's the next step. So not only listening to people's words, but when I say reading all clues, looking at their body language, where do they get excited? Because if they light up when they start talking about what they do or where they've just been, and the conversations, by the way, don't always have to be about business. So it might be, you know, you might notice a piece of jewelry, or that they've mentioned that they've just been on a vacation someplace. So pick those up and try to engage them in something. And you know, the questions then would be not just where did you go, but you just went to London. Can you tell me what was the favorite thing that you did? So practice developing that, and then listening, and then thinking about what can I do to bring the person out in the next step. And what we do all too often is we go into a conversation And we are so concentrated on the information. I mean, this is actually, you've just spent a lot of time thinking about your message, right? And that at some point you have to let that go, because truly engaging with another person is going to be not listening and waiting for an opportunity to give your message, but creating that relationship. And then there will be a moment when your message, when it's the right moment, and then that person will engage you in some conversation. So the listening piece, I have a real hunger for engaging with people who truly can have a conversation, rather than just sitting down and having them go and go and go about their stuff. And there's a point at which I feel like, well, do they even need me sitting at the table? So I really look for people with whom I can have dialogue, and it's a very special situation. So we're gonna
1, 2, 3.
Just being
Want to
That's right, stay, don't feel like you have to sit back down, you can stay standing up. So, another piece that's connected to this, but talking about, expanding on the asking and the listening, it's the telling. Focusing on, when you talk about your message, did you talk at all about how your message can vary depending on who your audience is? You didn't talk about that. So that might be the next step. So who was your implied audience when you did that exercise? And Katie, I'm just going to ask you what that, when you had the exercise, what was the intent on who were you talking to?
When we gave our pitches meeting, I guess we didn't really state one. I think just to kind of have people form their heads more around what they're trying to do.
So-
I gave them this kind of outline business pitch.
Okay.
So we weren't really thinking about who would you give this to.
Great, so then what
Yeah.
I want to do then is add another dimension, because just an example of, Katie asked, whether I had a bio and whether she could download the bio that I had on my website, and I said, fine. And then when I'm here, I was really conscious of who was in the room and whether that was the appropriate message to say, whether that was the appropriate pitch or background. So, which is why I kind of started off with some other words. So, once you get your business pitch down, I think there's a great value in practicing how you organize your thoughts and then practicing actually how you articulate it. But then the next level of that is to say, who am I actually speaking to and what are they interested in and how do I make it connect to them? So there are certain times when I will introduce myself as a management consultant, and there are other times when I introduce myself as an executive coach, and there are other times when I introduce myself as a facilitator, and there are probably about 10 other words or phrases that I can use to introduce myself. And what I'm really interested in doing is I choose that according to what I feel people's experience is in the past. Do they know the words? Because there's, I talked about the word lawyer before. Before I worked with law firms, I thought a lawyer was a lawyer, it was a lawyer. But there are litigators, there are prosecutors, there are defense lawyers, there are business attorneys, business process attorneys. And when I teach networking to lawyers, I ask them not to use the term lawyer. I actually say, go down to the next level and see, once you have figured out who you're talking to, pick a definition or a description of yourself that will connect with people. Because remember, the networking always comes back to how do I make a connection with the person that I'm talking to. So you will start, once you feel like you have your business pitch down, then start thinking about variations on it. Who is this person I'm talking to? What is this person's age? What is this person's experience? Am I using words that they're likely to understand? And if you have a word in a title or a reference point that you use and you know what it means, don't assume that everybody else does. So this is when you're picking up clues. If they kind of tilt their head or look a little puzzled, or if they don't immediately jump in and try to connect, well, I know somebody who does the same thing. Try another approach, so use some different words. One of my favorites, in addition to the lawyer, has always been I work in development, or I work in advancement. Now, we're here on a college campus, and development and advancement, that's the development office is now called the advancement office. And do you know what they do? Have you talked about development or advancement? So a third way to talk about that is fundraising. And it is so, if I'm the vice president of development, Mike, who's here at Scripps, and I go to a general networking meeting and I say, I'm the vice president of advancement, well, that's a conversation stopper. So even though technically he is the vice president of advancement, one would hope that he would tailor his introductions to people. So don't get too married to your business pitch. It's just like jazz, you're learning your scales now, and once you have mastered your scales, we want to go into some variations on that. So as you're working on your networking process, pay attention, and then make sure that you refine your telling so it really fits your audience. Any questions about that, or challenges, or any stories to share about?
Why is it telling stopper or whatever?
A conversation.
Conversation stopper because they're advancement.
It's a conversation stopper if the person that Mike is talking to doesn't know what advancement is, plus doesn't feel comfortable asking. Because then it's, oh, that's nice. Because if that's what he does, and I don't know what advancement means, does that mean I'm stupid? And so a lot of people sort of do variations on that, but they won't say anything because they're afraid they're not gonna, they're gonna look stupid. The thing that I know, I've been in consulting for a lot of years and worked in a lot of different kinds of companies. And when I first started, I'd go and start interviewing people and they'd start talking about the EAP or the MUD or whatever the acronym was. And I thought, I'm a consultant, I should know that. And now I always say, and what does that mean? So the older I get, the more willing I am to appear stupid. And I always ask if I don't understand, because it turns out that a lot of people, there are so many different meanings, and even the people who use the acronyms sometimes don't use them. So there's a piece of courage that goes along with the networking too, that brings you into the real human zone. So I just want to invite you to step beyond that, and if there's something that you don't understand, don't stop the conversation or walk away to say, what the heck does that mean? So, okay. Huh?
They gotcha.
Okay. Any other questions or comments about that concept? So, I remember we were talking, we're getting into the fourth and fifth of this, the giving and taking. So there's reciprocity and networking, the giving and taking. So giving, willingness to give something without expecting something back. And I really believe in building the cosmic bank account. And I always try to be the first mover. So if I meet somebody and I really look for an opportunity to do them a favor, to follow up on a telephone call if we were talking about a book, to say, the book that I was telling you about, here's the title or here's the link. Any little thing, any opportunity that I could have to be the first mover in a relationship,